I'm starting to record this, and yet we had such good conversation before this that I wish I'd recorded that as well. But let's start formally here, and I'll quickly review, and then we can get back to the discussion, which I'm sure will continue to be quite valuable. Our objective here is to refine ourselves in this analysis judging process. The analysis and the judging is absolutely key to all aspects of remote viewing, and it's especially key, of course, in this Group 1 ARV, where the judgment is going to lead to many people wagering and making important decisions. And this judging clearly involves an intellectual side and an intuitive side, as all of our discussions are showing. And it's true analysis and then ultimately a judging, which depends on intuition. Now, there are one or two newbies here, but so I'm going to quickly go through this. If there are any questions, please pipe up and ask, because I want to make sure we all understand this the same way. The basic approach here is that we're going to be looking at individual transcripts, and we're going to make a group prediction, and we're going to give a group confidence ranking based on the Targ confidence scale, which I'll show you at the end, but all of you have seen it. And we're going to be predicting a Major League Baseball game, which is going to happen this early evening. And the key is there are two sides. So on these two sides, we will have a over or under total runs in a baseball game. So you understand that there are two sides. And we have two photos associated to those two sides, one indicator photo site for each side. And we are now using these online spreadsheets, which look like they're working out quite well. This is something we'll continue. Now, the basic approach is indicated here, and I think everything really is shown. I kind of like this way of showing it. You're given, we have two sides to distinguish. We've given the remote viewers two coordinates. If you think of linear time this way, they do their magic and go to another dimension. Whatever they do, everybody's got their own model. I don't care exactly how it happens. All we know is that they're able to jump forward in time and see what they're going to get as a target. And in one case, we as judges are going to be looking at what might be their target. If this is the side that happens, so let's take that as an example. Let's say side 1 happens. Let's say that's associated with over. They're going to see a sailboat. Everybody on this side, all the viewers will see a sailboat, and so we as judges hope to get a lot of sailboat kinds of things. On the other side, since this doesn't occur, we are not going to show them this. No one but the judges will ever see the indicator photo site on this side, so we expect to see differences over here. And indeed, I give them what's called the wild card. I give them the link that's shown there, and they can click on that or do a wild card any way they want to, and another whole discussions about wild cards. The main point is that it is different for each of them, and except for some coincidences, when they're the same, we expect them to be different. So I am always looking for coherence, for strengthening my feeling of a high score at the group level by getting information from different viewers which matches, like here. One perspective, very different perspective, but all cohering to this one. You feel very comfortable. Another example. Some people pick up the people, other pick up arches, perspective here. And then there is this issue of bleed-through. It's around, it's brand new, probably still have stuff to learn about it, but I look for that, and bleed-through is associated with this coordinate. I've got this kind of information. when I was the judge. And it was pretty good, but I'm not quite sure I was willing to wager seeing this. But then, looking at the people's transcript, it hits you over the head. And I want bleed-throughs to be strong, none of the minor stuff. Because that turns out to be what it usually is. For some reason, when the sub is looking at the other coordinate, it looks well. And you start getting things like this. The fact there's an audience, a large crowd, happy people, stage and performance-like, drummer, musical instrument. And you can see together you get a rather high score here for this one, much higher than you would have with just this. And so you need to bring in, I believe, bleed through into this. Okay. And then we get to the Targ confidence ranking system, and the objective of today's meeting is to see if we can all understand this the same way so that we can have scores which are reasonably close to each other. Historically, to me, that means about 1 apart. So if we were to understand these the same way, I believe we can eventually get, as judges, with experience and with conversations like this, to within 1 apart. If not, we ought to be able to understand why. And so that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today. So 0, no correspondence, 1, little correspondence, 2, some correct elements. But after you get enough experience, you get the idea of what's chance. I mean, a person gets black, he gets even red, says a bunch of other colors, but those are the only 2 that match, might get 1 shape, has a lot of other stuff which is wrong. That's chance. You know, you are going to get some stuff by good old chance. A 3 is a mixture of correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the correct elements that you say, you know what, I really do think the person had some psychic connection. The subconscious did go to the photo at the time the photo was taken and described what you can infer easily from the photo. You know, yeah, I do believe that, but it's right on the margin. It's right on the margin. By the time you get to a 4, you say, now there's good correspondence, okay, not marginal anymore, good correspondence with several matchable elements. Not just 1, maybe not 2, several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect information. Now, we have decided with the Targ scale that 3.5 is wagerable. So as a judge, another way of saying this is you would be willing to wager a small amount of money on this. It's just another way of saying the same thing. That's what a 3.5 means. 5 introduces the next jump up. And notice the words Russel Targ put on this. I mean, he spent a lot of time thinking about these different steps. He writes good correspondence with unambiguous, unique, matchable elements. Alexis went through a really good detailed flow chart on how to do this, a very nice intellectual one, which some of you may very well want to use. But it gets you to a 5 when you have unambiguous and unique matchable elements. Now those words, you know, I mean, there's a judgment involved in even interpreting those words. Sometimes it hits you over the head, which of course you like. Oh yeah, you know, this was clearly that. A sketch which picks up all the basic features, and it's a windmill, and it's got a circle with stuff that comes out. You understand the meanings of unambiguous, unique, matchable. That's a 5. So those are really strong. A 6 goes to the next step, and it starts adding analytical information, for example, naming. Okay, so you might name the function of the target, but it's very high intellectual, analytical kind of information about whatever the target is. and very little incorrect information. And then a 7 is basically spot on, including analytical information. Okay, so now, having said that, and we all speak English, you ask the question, why do we get differences like this? And I have to tell you, every time since I first got into this, when we did multiple judging, we always got differences like this. So it's not surprising what we're doing, and I'm so happy that there's so many of us here doing this, because by talking to each other, I really believe we'll be able to get to within 1 point of each other most of the time, and then sometime we're going to agree to disagree, and that's fine too. So let's look at and first I want to thank Tom. The idea of the template, which you all use, the individual template, was something which I put together knowing Google, but Tom was the one who said, hey, Marty, you can get that to automatically go into a summary sheet like this, which is absolutely incredible, because I thought I was going to have to do that manually. So the format that we're using now, we'll be using every week for the indefinite future now. I think I want to keep doing this for quite a while. So let's now see if we can understand some of these differences. And maybe the way to do it is just to start with Tom, just because he's first, and the baseball game. Now, I look here, and there really aren't any great differences. Chris only gave a 1, so Chris, you didn't see much at all, where the rest of us did see stuff. Now, let me show you the other thing on the spreadsheet, which I would, and I think it's important as a judge, and not only for these weekly things. I'm hoping more and more of you will become judges. It is important to write down why you felt you gave the score you did. You're a judge. Judges give readings. They indicate this is the intellectual part of it, though in our world we could also add I just intuitively felt, and if that's part of your judging, okay. But I think it's valuable to write that down. The process of writing it down itself is valuable. So you indicated a 1, Chris, just as it should be. Some of the rest of us, let's just see what statements we put down. I said life form, human, lined, flat, white. Oh, he had the lines, which I saw lines and did white on those lines. And then he had a young boy's face, which indicated the life form. So at least for me, I guess that was enough to put it to a 3. Tom said life form, thought that was enough for a 3. I don't remember what John did, if he gave it a 3, but rushing down, inanimate part of horizontal lines. Okay. So maybe this is a difference of opinion. Chris, yeah.
Was this the one that had text that said girls and had different things describing the girls?
I think you're talking about Russ's session.
Yeah, this is Tom's session here.
Russ had a lot of information for one of them.
Yeah.
I have to apologize. I have 4 pages of notes on my judging.
Mm-hmm.
I had so much data, I just did not have time.
Joni, and that's good. My main point is do it. And so when we have discussions like this, you'll say, okay, this is why. Right. But I think, Chris, anyway, are you still here, Chris?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so anyway, you understand the difference here, and I think you can kind of see the consensus. Now, Michelle went to a 4, so she was on the high side. And let me just see if she had any comments to see why she went to a 4. And I want you to know sometimes we do this. Okay, so Michelle happened to think a 4 was enough. And
I think the fact that they were facing each other, like, I thought that was kind of not very random when he said, like, 2 boys and they were facing. And
young boys. Okay, face, and you thought facing each other. Okay, well.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Look.
No, I don't read facing each other. I just read young boys' face.
Right.
Yeah, that's all it was. I didn't mean they were facing each other.
Yeah.
One person.
But, okay, well, that's interesting because maybe that, I want to say 2 things about that. First, notice you're still within 1, okay? And you can see that little subtlety there in terms of what Tom meant was enough to get you up over where we are. So I don't see any big differences there, and as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to move on.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
This is Nancy.
Yeah, hi, Nancy.
I am wondering with Tom's, there's such a, I had him as a 3. I probably should have put it as 2.5 because I vacillated. But,
Right.
When I didn't think he deserved a 2, but when I put his 2 transcripts side by side for the 2 different targets, there was such a huge difference in the information, the amount of correct and the amount of incorrect information in the 2, that I thought it was, the difference between the 2 was at least 2 points. And so the question is, when it's that strong, I mean, do you ever put that in?
No, I would not put in.
Okay.
I would treat them each individually.
Okay.
However, Nancy, notice what you just said is you are gaining exactly the right kind of experience to understand these. The fact that you thought they should have been a little bit further apart is saying you're understanding the points. And you're doing, it's just right. What you did is just right, and you know what? The vagueness you're experiencing is part of the process.
Regular phase.
That's right. Okay.
Okay, before you go on, Alex, are you there?
Alexis? I saw
Yes.
Okay.
Can you explain what your comments mean?
Oh, my comments mean like 06 question mark, 06 no, 06 yes. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. What does that mean?
I took I actually typed out each statement you wrote, or each what do you call it? Character or
Element.
Each data that you write, and then I gave it a question mark if I couldn't make a decision whether or not it was right or wrong. And if it was wrong, I would just put down no, and if it was yes, I would put down yes.
Ah.
So those are the 3 segments of my drawing. That's why you have 3 numbers?
I have 3 numbers because those 3 numbers represent all the data that was in your session, and I graded each data whether or not it was right or wrong, and the ones that I couldn't make a decision, I put a question mark.
Okay, so
So what do the numbers mean?
The numbers just mean how many data was right, how many data was wrong.
Can I intercede here for a second?
Sure.
This is into Lynn Buchanan's method of scoring a little bit.
I see.
Except what I don't understand, Alexis, is, I mean, I see more than 3. I mean, I think you'd have to ask the question like indoor. Well, indoor is not the case. The lines would be maybe a maybe, and this is where the white and the lined was. So I also don't understand So did you take this top section and put it all together and put a question mark for it? In other words, you didn't do it for like indoors and say no. Based on...
I took everything that was said.
Yeah.
And then I just said yes, no, or question mark.
Well, except you did it 3 times. I guess we're trying to understand your 3 approaches. See, I thought like when I went through your spreadsheet that I was going to give it a overall judgment, but first I have to look at all these individual elements.
Right.
So yeah, I guess I'm with Tom. I don't quite understand exactly what those comments meant.
What does your 6 mean, Alexis?
So there's
What does your 6 mean?
It's just 6 different
Descriptors?
Right. So
Okay.
in all there was 18 descriptors.
Oh, okay. So that 0 to 6 is not okay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the sketch counted as 1, and so out of
the sketches.
Oh, you
Can
ignored.
I make a suggestion? Yeah, Alexis?
Yes.
Could you possibly do a quick write-up on one of these and put it to the group? Because if we spend an awful lot of time on this, we're going to go over our bracket again.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we could move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. And I would say, Alexis, ignoring sketches, in my opinion, is a very bad thing to do. Often the best information is in the sketch. Had he done this sketch and not wrote life form human, you would have missed a major piece of the match. So, so anyway, that's, from
Alexis,
I should rephrase it.
yeah.
I have
Oh,
a
okay.
question. How did
I didn't ignore it totally. I just I ignored it for this part
Okay. Okay.
of the analysis, but I took it into consideration.
Let's go on to Deborah's now, because here we're now beginning to see much more of a difference. Here's a difference even of 2 between Marty and Tom. Chris went way down to a 2. John 2, 2.5 for Brian gave it a 1, so he does the lowest, and Russ gave it a 6. So you see, now is really a good time to look at the comments. I'm going to put this on the other side so I can look at it, and let's look at the... Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, in particular, Marty, I'd really like you and Russ to explain what is unambiguous and unique in this.
Okay. Right. And that's exactly, notice Tom asked exactly the right question, because the fact that I gave it a 5 and Russ gave it a 6 meant we felt it was unambiguous. Though let me answer part of this question now, because I asked Russ this already. He added bleed through on this, though I guess that's what got you up to a 6 from a 5.5. Because I asked him how come he didn't see an AOL. I didn't see any AOLs in there, and he went from a 5.5. So he does have to answer the question, what was unambiguous and unique? And my answer to that is we're in Deborah's now, right? The total yelling, motion, hat behind bars, which was the mask. I guess I can't point to one thing by itself that was unambiguous, but I felt the transcript itself, in it to win, people clapping, multiple people. So this was a case where I made the judgment that not one element, but the multiple elements together so strongly pointed to it that I was willing to give it a 5. That was my logic, for better or worse.
Well, to me, that's a definition of a 4, because there's nothing unambiguous and unique in there.
Well, as a group, I felt it was. This was a baseball game.
Okay.
a sports event. It wasn't necessarily a baseball game, but it was an active sport-like event of some sort. And we may agree to disagree, Tom. I understand. But notice then, what did we come out to be? We were on Deborah's. Well, we were 2 apart. If you say the right answer should have been 4 now, then
I missed the thing about the behind bars. I missed that. So
the math.
It should be a 4, yes.
Okay, so then we're only 1 apart. So you see, it's not always going to be 1 apart. It's like 1, I think, is kind of the mean difference, which might be expected because of differences like we're talking about. But now the question is, go ahead.
Can I clarify? Maybe I'm understanding something here from what you said. Unambiguous to me meant, I think I was looking more broadly, unambiguous. But in you saying, well, put it all together, it's a sporting event, I sat here and thought, well, what if both were sporting events? But then I thought, no, we don't even do like that. So it's relative to the other target, right?
No, absolutely not. No, wait. Unambiguous means that your transcript versus the indicator photo site for this number, you're ignoring this totally. Ignore this. This is one comparison and one comparison only, okay, at this level. So you're comparing your Deborah's transcript against the baseball picture, and you want to know, is it unambiguous and unique? And I said I thought it was unambiguous and unique to a sporting event kind of thing. Notice I didn't say to a baseball game, because that's getting up, in my opinion, to what you mean by AOLs. Now I'm getting very specific. That would be a 6.
That would be unambiguous if she said baseball. So, okay, that clarifies the difference in thinking.
That's right. That's how, in my mind, you have to make the distinction between the 6, where it's truly a baseball game. There would have been something in there where he said baseball, or he drew a picture of a round thing with lines on it that was clearly a baseball, or something like that to get to a 6. So I interpret unambiguous and unique to be at the level of what this photo site is, like a sporting event. This was an unambiguous match to a sporting event.
Okay.
Can I say something here?
Of course.
In terms of categories of data that come in, I wrote an article in A. Martinis about embodied mind and different categories, and just thinking about this and what's unambiguous. For example, if you get a life form, and some people, like Tom, I think, wrote life form, if you get, that's one level of, that's very general. If you get animal, that makes it more specific. If you get cat or ball player, I'll say, that takes it down another level. And then if you get Felix the cat or Willie Mays, that takes it down another level. So at what level is it unambiguous? I think that depends on each of us and how we feel about that. Yes. And so we haven't resolved that. Yeah.
When I looked at Deborah's session, I strongly felt that the in it to win it was very unique and unambiguous.
Yeah, okay, Joni, and you're with the rest of us. So you, in at least not the, as we're going across here, I'm just looking at the average. I'd like to hear, from Chris and Brian, what they didn't see, and have them say, "Oh yeah, I miss that." And don't be bullied by the crowd. You might be right. We might, what I'm saying is, we want to come to there's no right and wrong here. There's coming to an agreement.
Yeah, well, this is Chris. I did identify everything that you had also had as descriptions there, Marty. But I've been working with Deborah and the other group for a while, and I must confess, I really go on intuition a lot, and even though she is picking up on a lot of the elements, I did not feel that they were significant. to me, and so I mean I could have easily given this a 3 without a doubt, but I felt so strong on the other side that I may have been subconsciously trying to steer things that way, which is something I do that I try to control.
Well,
so
I'd like to also point out that last week and this week both, Deborah got lots of hits from both of the photo sites. I think that's, I mean, is that the way it often is, Chris, with her?
Yeah, she does do that with me, and I've judged about 12 sessions, and I honestly must say that there is definitely an intimate relationship that goes on between the judger and each viewer. Every viewer seems to have their own language, their own sense of using metaphor, and sometimes I find it very cryptic. So maybe I rely on intuition too much, but although I did see the connections here, I did not feel that they were significant, but I probably could have gone with a 3 because I was vacillating between a 2 and 3 with Deborah.
Yeah,
Do you ever, sorry, John.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you ever get a pen, like I got a yellow pen and marked off the salient points, as did somebody else that did it in red, to make it a more clinical type approach and evaluation?
Yeah, I have many different colors. I have highlighters. when I put the time in, but I'm realizing this more and more that a lot of time really has to be put in this to do it correctly, and you really have to tune into each. As I said before, each viewer has their own language.
Yeah, true.
And I always use a red pen and mark things, and the stuff that's really good I'll circle, and if it's really, really, really good I'll triple circle it and that sort of thing. So yeah, I agree with that. Let me make another comment about reading the judge's mind. Deborah, you happen to be here.
No, she's not.
Oh, darn it. Of course she's not. Someone should have, but she is using, no, Michelle is using her sign-on. So the reading of the judge's mind, I don't know how people get over it, but presumably, Chris, you've talked to her about it. I know she is using an instrument of some. She uses a, God, I can't believe I'm blanking on the word. A beacon, thank you, which is supposed to help with that. Somehow she needs to get over that, because I have noticed that as well. But the other thing you said about after looking at both.
Get over what? I don't get your point.
Getting over reading the judge's mind. The fact that Chris has seen this repeatedly, and the fact that you see two scores which are the same, which are both high, and then the judge is saying, but I think this is one is high, or might push one up and the other down, is a problem. Judges are real people. We're real people. And we see ourselves doing that, and it's part of, believe it or not, I find it part of the joy of judging, because I'm learning about myself as I get to watch this, and then I work to get over it. You know, and you can just listen to Chris's language that all of us as judges do this. And when you become judges, and some of you hopefully will, just know you're human beings, and that is part of it.
Marty, to illustrate what you're saying, one of these really freaked me out. It might have been Deborah's, but I read it, and it had back bend, and it had these two things, and I checked the time for no apparent reason. The day before, I was in the kitchen, and I did a back bend twice, which I haven't done in years and years. And then I get to the session the next day and went, what the heck? Does someone like, and you just brought it up, which like a target beacon, and I'm like, well,
That's strange.
But yeah, it's like I was a real person in pain, and I did a back bend to try and fix it, and here it popped in a session somewhere. Or not. It could be coincidence, but it
okay. In fact, I think we ought to talk about yours next, but I want to say one other thing which I have considered, Chris, and I just want you to consider this. When I see two high scores, legitimate, okay, two high scores, and this isn't one of those cases, but had there been two high scores by the same person on both sides, I tend to ignore both of them because I figure there's a good chance that they did come to me and read my mind. So it's just a comment, Chris.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. They do negate each other. I take the same approach.
Okay.
You sort of gave Deborah two high scores, didn't you, Marty? 5 and 4.
Yeah, I did, and that maybe should in fact be negated. Notice I ended off with the pass, but we'll get to that later.
Well, before you go on, I did want to say one more thing about Deborah's session. In spite of what I said last week, when I did my judging, one of the reasons I only gave her a 3 was because she had a lot of water in her session.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
And
That's why I bumped it
there was
down.
no water, and I mean, I tried to make it muddy on the baseball field, but it wasn't. So, you know, I don't like to do that downgrade because of incorrect information. But on the other hand, the Targ scale does say some incorrect information.
Right. And if you think there's a lot of incorrect information, more than enough to counteract, that's a reasonable judgment. Okay, now Tamara.
Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What I would have said, Marty. It was the rain and all that watery stuff really put me off.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why you gave it a 2 more than anything else.
Yeah, it was like you got the emotion, but not the play, kind of to me. You know that.
Right.
Like the same things you picked, I saw, but then all that muddy stuff and it. Yeah.
Well, you know, there's an interesting balanced judgment that goes there, I guess. And okay, so that is a good reason why sometimes we're different by more than one. And you know what? I understand that, and I must say I can't disagree with that. That's a judgment. I tend to give more weight to the good stuff and tend to ignore that more. But I know that's a judgment, and I can't say that mine's better than yours.
That I think probably, and I'll just have to work with it, but when I look at the Targ thing, I think I'm more of a, I think people might judge higher just because, you know, good job, you know, we want it to be higher,
Yeah.
But I expect a lot out of his plant, you know, I don't know. And if...
Okay, turn the phone off.
As we improve, as viewers improve, I don't know, I just didn't see these sessions being like bowl me over sessions that I would score high, and so that might be my bias that I'll get through as
Well, I mean, I think what you have to do is just come to you honestly feel you're following the Targ scale. So it's good by his definition. That's what we're trying to do here. In other words, okay.
We want to do it together.
So expresses the emotional content which wells up when people are actually examining this.
Yes.
And that influence people an awful lot.
That's right.
And another point is that, Tamara, is that remember, one session may sort of be way off and have low scores anyway. It's not like both sides have to have these huge high scores. In fact, we want one side to have high and the other low. So.
Yes.
Right. But you see, in this case, if you were to go back, and it would be interesting, in view of the comments, as the other people are putting in all the things that we see, you know, do you think that was more than chance or not? Anyway, that's the kind of judgment you have to make. And notice as you see more and more of these, you're going to begin to get a better judgment about that. So I understand what you did.
Yeah, I just was like, yeah.
Be clinical, be harder.
It could have been a 2.5.
Yeah, it's okay.
Looking at the outcome of the game, the actual say the bet.
Yes.
The over/under score is say 7. Now, if our two targets end up being really close, say a 4.5 and a 5.
Yep.
then my guess, I mean, looking at my data from the last 12 that we've done together with Sublime, pretty much those are going to be a push or real close to that over-under score. I mean, it's an odd, that's just generally, when I looked at that, I thought, hey, that's kind of interesting that when our two target confidence rankings are close together by maybe a point, you know, they're not, the difference is not very big. Typically, we're at a push in the, or real tight with that number that the bookies made up.
Right.
That's what happened last week. Were you here last week, Nancy?
Yes.
No.
That's a good observation.
I don't think
that
it's going to happen
too.
this week, though.
Well, right. But I mean, yeah, that does happen. But let's go on some more to the judging. Alexis, again, your comments were about the same, but I really would.
I just added a document that showed the breakdown of how I got the numbers.
Okay, where did
I'll
you
put it in chat?
Oh, okay.
Right there.
Okay, we can look at that. But
And
now,
that's pretty much how I broke it down into.
okay, but I would. Okay, some of you, if you want to, you can look at that on this now or on the side. But what I really want to do is go to someone like Brian. Now let me see if Brian did any comments, because you gave it a 1, Brian. So
I really kind of held off on any comments because at that time I didn't see anything that stuck out at me.
Okay, and
looking back at it, I would say I missed, say, 90% of what you gathered up.
yeah,
and something like the bars and the face. I still don't think I would have made that connection.
And you want to know something? That was at the level of a judgment. Was that too much of a call or not? Remember, Rick earlier said you can't push it. And I put it down. I said, yes, I think that was what the consciousness was trying to say. But I will tell you, I thought that was right at the edge of it. But the other stuff that you missed, that's why we're meeting together, so that we can learn that sort of thing. Because that is the way the subconscious communicates. It communicates at this level, at the level of a life form, at the level of a person, at the level of motion. It sees things like motion. I mean, all that's kind of remarkable. And that's the stuff that now you're learning to pick up. So
I guess I feel like I really need to be going through these at least, twice. Go through it, put it down, come back, and go through it again.
That's exactly what I do. In fact, sometimes I then go through again for a bleed-through. So.
Just to clarify, I told Marty this earlier, but I went through it once and I thought I sent it back to him with some questions, and I was going to go through it again. So my stuff is kind of halfway anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Remember, we're all in this hopefully for the long term. That's why we're spending this much time now and learning. So that's what's good. Okay, Rick, you were right in the middle. Nancy, I'd say close enough. Let me see what your comments were, Nancy. Did you do
I didn't have any comments, and I would bump it up now that I'm looking at the water thing, all the wetness and the sloshing and soggy, wet on every single one of them. Was enough to pull it down a little bit, but as I look at this, there were so many things right. I would bump it up now.
Yeah. See, what's interesting about that is, as a judge, unfortunately, again, naturally, we're human beings. When you see a lot of stuff like that, the thought goes through your head, oh, the person went to a different place, didn't go here because they got all this other stuff. Who knows? What can I tell you? And there's a judgment about that. I mean, if this turns out to be the correct one, then we're going to say, oh, who knows why she went to water, and clearly all this other stuff was what she tuned into. And remember, the learning continues with the judges at feedback as well. So at feedback time, I hope all of you, I certainly do, and I hope all of you then go back and kind of revisit all of this. and you say, okay, and you might even then find additional stuff that you say, you know, stuff that might have been on the margin. You say, oh, you know what? Maybe that is what they meant. And you learn. You keep learning. You keep upgrading your abilities. Okay, now, Russ gave it a 6. Okay, and so yours was really a 5.5, and you upped it. Russ can only go in the chat, so that's why he isn't responding. But we had an earlier discussion that said he went to a 6 after he had examined what he saw as bleed through. And that raises an interesting issue, and I just want to give you my opinion, and let's have a small discussion on that. When I saw a 6 here, I said to Russ, where was the AOL? Sort of asking the kind of question that Tom asked, you know, where's the unique unambiguous for a 5? So
functional match is what it's supposed to be. Right?
A functional, no, that was a for example, but it was an AOL, for example, functional. Where was it? He said,
that's what it says in the Targ.
Exactly. And so I said, why did you up it? And he said, because of the, just because I saw a bleed through. Now my advice to him, because this has never come up before, was don't do it that way, because I'm going to read this as you're saying that there's an analytical in this transcript. Now, do you all agree? In other words, maybe you go up to 5.9 or something just to signal that that's why you did it.
I agree with that analysis.
Yeah, unless it's really, really strong bleed through. I mean, can you tell us, Russ, what the bleed through was? Because I didn't see one.
Russ, do you remember what the bleed through was? Well, we can.
I might be able to comment if Russ.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you know what it is. He's going to be typing.
I have some bleed through indicators, and it was actually the correspondence of the bleed through, the several bleed through elements that I noticed include it, even though they're.
Well, what are they? What are they?
Okay, they're biological, hand, bring out a trajectory, energy, person doing, I can't even read my own writing.
Okay, but person,
turn,
energy.
Extending outward, hand.
Oh, okay.
Person doing a back end, something turns.
Yeah,
and
okay.
What really struck out for me in the bleed through was that Deborah actually wrote the word displacement on the other, in her other target, as if she knew she was displacing onto this.
Okay. Okay, so anyway.
I'm confused about what you mean by bleed through. I assumed you meant from the other 5PS. Are you talking about from her other sketch?
I'm talking about the bleed through that came from her other transcript.
Yeah, from 102.829. Now, she's talking about the bleed through, and I think I also, on my work, I didn't put it in my comments, but I think on my work I saw some bleed through there too, Tom. But maybe we'll talk about that a little later. I think now the point is we are now all agreed that a 6 here means the Russ level 6 description for this transcript. Okay? So Russ, you would have made this a 5.75 or something like that in the future. That's what we'll expect to see.
He's written some comments about his changes, Marty.
Yeah. Okay, very good. I can't change it here, but doesn't matter. If you want to change it on yours, you can do it now. Okay. So I think we've learned a lot on that one. Let's do the same thing. I'd love to get through all of these if we can. So here, looking at all of these, we get the lowest is a 1, the highest, again, is a 6. But Tamara sort of told us that she almost wants us to ignore her
yeah, I couldn't tell who. I think I
ones. Right, she had a little problem with that, and she hasn't done much of this, so I don't think we need to discuss too much. Now,
if people would put their names on their sessions and pages, it would be good.
Yeah, that would be good. But also, I'll try to put on every page this comment thing. So when it prints out, maybe you can write it yourself if they don't. So you said a 5.5, Russ. Rick got a 2. I mean, I don't see these being different enough to even comment on anymore. I mean, unless somebody wants to. I see those all being close enough. I'm ready to go to the next one.
Yeah, move it up, Marty, because we're now at 11:35.
Yeah, it's getting late for you, right. Now here...
5.5 is really hard for me to understand. Go ahead.
No, it's 11:45 p.m. where he is.
No, I was talking about the score that Russ gave at 5.5. I don't understand, but go ahead.
Wait, Russ... Oh, okay. Let's see. Did you put comments, Russ? I can't remember if you were a
I don't understand that score either.
Fact, it's 6.
Okay, Russ, you've got your transcripts in front of you. Did you mark anything as unambiguous and unique? Again, anybody who does a 5.5, you see, we're really saying let's use Targ. So if you're going to give it a 5, why?
Back it up.
That's right. Okay, very good. So you're willing to say, well, maybe it was Marge who just thought it was pretty darn good, and so you wanted to raise its score. But you see, this is a way, judges, we get to communicate to each other, and when the remote viewers understand that we're doing this the same way, then we're communicating with them when they see what score we gave them.
He's saying the sketch was clear as a bell in text. That's why he gave it.
By Michelle. Oh, okay. You're saying the sketch...
I got very little out of her sketches myself, so you must be more intuitive about it than I am.
Yeah. Okay, well that was... Okay, so he felt that was right on, the sketch. And I think he was the one who said, like there was a baseball plate there or something, and that was his interpretation. But from the standpoint of learning, though, I think we've sort of gotten what we need from here. Now, Brian, why the 1 here? Let's go look at the comments.
Well, I think it's again. I
okay.
didn't pick up much of that.
Okay,
I just kind of look back at it, and
you see now that, oops, I missed that, and that's great.
Yeah, I went through and kind of highlighted, in a different color now, the stuff that I kind of walked over.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this: did you, by any chance, do this one first? Did you do the 102? I noticed you gave high scores here. Okay.
Correct. And I think that was a lot of the issue too. That I had such a high correlation on the first one, the 829.
Okay, all you judges who have done that, raise your hand. And my hand is up.
My hand's raised.
Okay? And all of us have to watch that in terms of making these decisions based on the other. Don't do that. They're each to be judged independently. And who knows, somebody may be doing a bad displacement. Somebody may have had a wild card by coincidence. I mean, there are lots of reasons. Each one has to be done totally independently, okay, for these rankings.
I think we've had a few comments that people are going down that route and comparing. So if you could reinforce that by something in writing, that would be great.
Good idea.
Okay. So I think we've done that. So let's now go to the next one, and I'll bring this in. So we're now going to look at this. So there's the comments. Good, lots of comments. And so let's just do it again. Here's Tom. Oh, we can't see the people now. Let me make this up like this. Okay. So those were close. So there's one. John was lower. And then Brian, let's ask you first. Oh, Brian and, Michelle, I think she said she had to leave.
Yeah, she left.
Okay. So I'd like to see what her unambiguous was. Brian, you got one. Can you tell us what you thought was unambiguous and unique?
I tell you what, Marty, let me pull it back up and look at it.
Yeah.
Hold on. What was the
102829?
right, but what viewer?
Tom. So it was the
Tom.
first one. In fact,
And you know, on the first page for Tom,
Yeah.
I got just about everything highlighted. You know, the drawing of the kind of the Pac-Man with teeth.
Yeah.
I kind of see that looking right down in the picture.
Yeah.
With the lion and, you know, the mouth open.
The steps. Yeah, I know. That was an interesting perspective, wasn't it?
And then really on the first page, just the little drawing of the shaft coming down and across, you know.
So you saw, yeah. See, I had trouble personally seeing that, and I thought, was that this angle here? So you're seeing, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but you're kind of seeing this down and over. And that's what you saw there?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's kind of just, for me, it's looking at it from the side.
Yeah, I concur with you on that one because that's exactly how I saw it as well.
Uh-huh.
I think a key question here.
And then these are lines. Mm-hmm.
A key question is, are these unambiguous and unique?
And notice, if anything, I was on the lower side there, on the margin of even going to 4. But I have to tell you, in this case, it was, I suffered with this one mightily because of this. I mean, I saw the stairs and all that and the large teeth and saw why he might have done it. But was it close enough? You know, I suffered with it. And this is where you are a judge. And I'd say this is probably one of those cases where maybe a difference of more. Now, maybe I'm justifying myself. I don't know.
Matty, it's good correspondence, but it's not necessarily unambiguous and unique.
It's all analogical, I think, all three of the elements, so I don't see that as unambiguous either.
So,
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and so, but he seems to think it's good enough, and Michelle did.
Again, that's where we don't have a typology of viewers. I mean, maybe he does a lot of, or she does a lot of analogical work, and it's all accurate, but we don't have a clue as to the typology of viewers yet. It's a real lack that we have in the field, I think.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe we should talk a little bit more about this one then. In other words, you're saying Brian seems to think that this is unambiguous and unique.
I see the top part of his page as ambiguous, but I see that shaft, you know, as unambiguous.
It's not being. This one you can see as being, this is ambiguous or unambiguous, the shaft.
Let's put it this way, the top part of his, you know, the Pac-Man and the large teeth.
Right.
That's ambiguous, but I see, you know, the match. The shaft, I think, right below that was directly a hit on it.
Okay, lattice-like, inanimate.
Even though he says
That word is leather, not
Leather-like.
Yeah, leather-like. I
Yeah.
put checks and circles around that.
That was displacement.
And she says it's a boot, just like up top she says it's a tiger with a mouth, and below it's Niagara Falls. So to me, those are three analogies that she's giving.
And they're the well.
But the sketchy, yeah, long, but the sketch.
I liked the sketch because it's so long. The picture is so long, and it has at the bottom. It looks like it has to curve away. There's a shift, like looking down into a boot, and I liked the leather-like words because the steps going down those steps are the leather-like brown, rubbery leather-like stuff. And I even like a pair of because the handles going down, the rails, handrails going down are a pair of.
Interesting.
Okay, so, but at least, you know, I don't believe in some of these areas there's a right or wrong. It's just what you said, John. It's the judgment area, and maybe we don't have agreement because it's a judgment area. And it isn't like you can say you're right, you're wrong, but at least we're understanding that this is kind of what's maybe built into the approach we're taking, where consciousness has a kind of, you know, we're not perfect yet. The viewers don't give the right-on 6-7 sessions yet a lot. And okay, so I'm not going to say, hey, Brian, I think you should have lowered that to a 4 or 5. In my opinion, maybe some of the other people are. And so I think this may be an area where some of us have to agree to disagree.
You know,
but
one
at
of the
least
things that kind of throws me is you look at a page like Tom's, where, you know, single page, you know, looking at it as a data set, it's not a whole lot of data, but everything seems to be clicking. And then you look at a one like from Deborah, where you have multiple pages, a lot of, you know, data points in it. Some of them hit, some of them don't.
They have to.
I guess I have a hard time, you know, just ignoring the ones that don't hit.
They have to be judged differently. And this is where the CRV technique, in a way, I believe, is onto something, because it'll take a percentage. But that is not the total answer. It's a factor. If a person has, see, it's like, for example, it's a factor. What do you mean by random? If a person puts a huge number of things on there, I certainly expect a lot more hits. But this is a judgment. It is harder. It's just a different kind of judgment factor. And again, experience is the only way I believe to learn. I personally, however, don't believe that I want to tell different viewers to do it different ways. What some viewers like Tom have been doing this for a very long time. I see wonderful sessions on one page from him. We ask some people to do 2 pages, but I emphasize it's not the magic of the 2 pages. It's the magic of getting a reasonable number of elements. You know, I don't want just 2, 3, 4 elements. He's got a lot of elements here. And what you need is a significant number of elements.
Can we move along now, Marty? Because
yeah, I'm sorry.
A lot of time in this one.
Okay, I'm sorry. And we've gone. Let's go through some of the key maybe differences overall now. Tom looks pretty much the same. Again, John, you didn't see some of these other things?
Well, I have all of my notes, you know, man-made structure, carefully constructed, oozing through tube-like object, rising up sections, but I still only felt it was 1.5.
Yeah. So that was Russ, not me, you're reading.
That was Deborah. I thought we moved to Deborah's.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I went down to Deborah. Deborah's 1.5, right. And yet Chris and Michelle gave it a 6.
Yeah. I definitely see strong connections there. I mean, she's literally here using the words tube and station repeatedly. And again, I kind of get into Deborah's head a little bit, and I felt that was extremely strong and unambiguous. So, and those are the words that are used in the description. She also has 3 levels. There's the dynamic of rushing off, coming, and touching, and I was getting that as the dynamic of a train station, coming in, leaving. Deborah has a way of picking up on aesthetic impact and emotional, you know, things going on outside the literal dimensions of the picture. So and going back to her other transcript, I thought there was a lot of bleed through, which I didn't mention. For example, the mask on the baseball player. I thought that was the impressions of the grid in the stairwell, which is a tube, really. So anyway.
Well, that's interesting. And I noticed on some of them, like the ones with motion, I think it was vague because there clearly wasn't any motion there, but you could see how the subconscious immediately would grab on the fact that there are a hell of a lot of people going down there. And it was interesting.
Go ahead.
In choosing targets, you know, I'm learning a lot about what makes good and bad targets from things like this, because when I look at a target, I feel like I ought to look at what consciousness might do with that target as a judge and make sure that I think that's clear.
We're going off into the airy fairyland now.
Well, again, that's the difference between a remote viewer. As a remote viewer, you probably wouldn't want to pay attention to the people at all. As consciousness, that station is busy all the time. So,
yeah, but if we start speculating too much, we're off in la-la land. Surely we've got to bring it down to a more clinical approach, less emotional, less airy-fairy.
How do the rest of you feel about?
Because we start flying away and we start building castles.
Part of consciousness is a little myopic. That's
What's
part of it too. Why cut that out?
What's airy-fairy to one is concrete to another. For me,
Negative.
Deborah's,
No, it's not.
well, Deborah made some comments about excrement and vagrants and something like that in a couple of hers, and I related to that being in Chicago and taking the trains many times. The smell of urine and the homeless people are part of the whole scene.
What's that got to do with the target? Nothing.
But it was that my connection of trains.
What's it got to do with the target, though? That's my question.
The target could smell like that, Rick.
At the photo site.
Nothing.
Those impressions are there at the photo site.
No. There's no excrement there. There's nothing to do with that. The target is the target.
No.
This is what we start building up.
I think what we're going back to here is the target the picture, or is it the photo? Is it the place where the picture was taken?
Well, you got to get to consciousness then, because there's attractors. That target of just a picture is one little snapshot. All around that's other things. And in remote viewing, that there's attractors. You're going to go to that site. Maybe someone's going to be off to the right, and there is that.
Well, yeah, but that.
I'm not going to get into judging it, but you can't just say it doesn't exist, because it does. Our consciousness isn't locked in a picture.
Right.
Exactly. We're not viewing the photo. We're viewing the photo site.
Well, Rick said he worked there, though, and so he knows the place well, remember?
Well, but it's clean. It's clean. However, Nancy, I want to clarify something that you said. The issue is whether or not the person whose transcript you're looking at would make that connection for this photo site, not you.
Right.
I just want to make sure that's clear. Now, that still comes in to be a judgment. Had this been a picture of a railroad station with a lot of graffiti and stuff on it,
right?
Then you know what? And Rick and I may actually still disagree on this, but had it been that kind of picture and someone had said urine smell, I probably would have given that credit, because I say, maybe, maybe not. I wouldn't have given it a lot of credit, not as much if it had been direct, but I could see where consciousness might do that. And this is where there's, in judging, there is a weighting. There's some hits, partial hits, and all that has to be factored in. And this is part of the hard parts of judging. But, Rick, there is a major point here about RVing versus 1A RVing. And when you're doing RVing, I agree with Rick's point of view that the ideal is to describe this station. What you can see, yes, the viewer's consciousness goes here, okay, but his job is to describe exactly what's here. In fact, even adding people would not be helpful because the task is to describe it at the moment the picture was taken. That's RV. I believe for one ARV, a busy place, something like that, I would give credit for that. That's a judgment for one ARV.
Agreed.
So, I mean, but these are really important points. You understand?
Yeah. Marty, you're going to have to write that up in a paper somewhere, that last point you made, because what's the difference between ARV and regular RV, and why that difference exists that you think.
Well, you want to know something? The write-up is what's going on right here. I'm running out of time to write papers and stuff like that, though at the next conference I'll probably discuss this again.
Well, let me tell you now, there's no excrement down in Tottenham Court Road station. Because there are cameras everywhere there. Everywhere.
In my opinion,
That's what Deborah experienced that.
in my opinion, the
maybe
main match to
Detroit or
that,
Chicago, I agree, but not down there.
in my opinion, the main match to that comment is not the fact that there's an excrement smell. It's the fact that it's a tube. And that's what they call the subway in England,
Right.
isn't it? The tube?
That's right.
That's a really big, strong, functional match to me.
Right, and she used the term tube and station.
But then, did you not? Then why did you give her a 3, Tom?
Yeah, I was just wondering about that.
Because that, yeah.
I missed tube completely when I got her.
Yeah. Notice here I said constructed oozing through a tube. You see, and this is, as a judge, this is why it is so good to write it down in one form or another or mark it. Because when you go back and you look, and let's say this is the side that's a hit, you're going to say, how could I miss that? And you sensitize yourself to that for the next time. You're always trying to get better.
Yeah.
To answer your question about my 3, it was again because there was a lot of things that weren't matches, I think, is why I did that.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And John, is that why you gave it a low score too?
Yeah, but from the discussion, I would raise it somewhat too, to maybe a 3 or something.
Okay. So I think, here, Rick, you gave this one a 0. Now that's interesting. Okay. Let's go look quickly at Mia, because I see a difference between a 5. Again, we're sort of ignoring her for a moment just because she had problems, and a 0. So Chris and Rick should talk to each other. Wow.
Can you bring her session up?
Well, with Mia, where am I here?
104.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
focused,
102.
with Mia, I focused on a repetitive ideogram, and that just screamed at me. And I really didn't need to see too much more. I have a way of canceling things out that are irrelevant, but if I see a repeating ideogram or a repeating sketch that is dead on, I'm inclined to score it high.
That's the lines here?
Yes.
Yeah.
The lines and looking. I didn't see any round, which I thought was interesting. It sort of looks like it should be, but it isn't. So it's the lines that you see there. Yeah, I guess it's curved.
It's just screaming
yeah, it
at
is
me.
curved at the bottom. Okay.
I
So-
think once again a good question to ask, well, what I do anyway, is things like lines and things like that. To me, I guess I look at them as like black, white, very ununique. But that's the question that I use in my judging.
Yeah, but in this case, I would have to agree that one of the major characteristics of that is its lines. I mean,
Yes,
you know,
but
so
it
in this,
applies to
and
all kinds of targets could have
not a
bunch
bunch of parallel lines like this. So, I mean, I don't have any problem with making that a biggie.
And she
Isn't it
kept
different?
repeating it. She
I
kept
think
That's-
it's
repeating
a
it.
correspondence, but it's not unambiguous.
That's what I was
Just
going to
my
ask. I
judgment.
mean,
Yeah.
I would never call it unambiguous, but maybe ARV's different. And
No, I think that's a valid point. I personally didn't consider it unambiguous. I think I only gave it a 4. Let's see.
I mean,
We're,
here
we're
it's
not here. No, I only gave it. Well, that's interesting. We gave it 3s, both Tom and I. So the lines alone we didn't consider to be that strong. And I guess
Yeah, I'd
Rick,
probably
you didn't.
make it a 4. I'd probably make it a 4 now.
Yeah.
But just have here is going through grasses, or there's a screen, or there's tails, or there's feathers, silk strings. There's nothing about man-made structure or anything like that. It's definitely something that's thin, light, feathery, silky. It's got nothing to do with man-made structure.
Right.
That's
literal.
only one
That's
aspect of it, though. I mean, you're just talking about the textural aspect.
Well, see, to me, the viewer's supposed to draw some of that out of an ideogram, not the judges. That's why, you know, that's what I'm kind of confused on when I was earlier saying, are we trying to ever bump them up by, it's like this case.
Right.
If she
But
didn't, if she didn't present that, how am I going to judge that? Because I might be able to go back and do it from hindsight because I've got the feedback?
No.
Is that the session that has the staircase in it, though, there, that drawing that you just showed, Marty? I mean, that looks like a staircase there.
Yeah, that's a staircase, but let's see, but
Right.
no, you should not push it. You should say, is it reasonable to suspect she made this connection? But that line is the quick for judging. And Chris would you now call that unambiguous and unique, Chris, noticing that we're focusing on that?
Yeah, I do, because I regardless of the text that Mia's using, I just feel that there's such a strong intent to communicate the linear quality and the linear imagery. It's just grabbing me. I can't let it go.
Yeah, I mean, the text could all be AOL, right? I mean, I often have that in my text.
Right. And, well, and this...
It could easily be her strong intention to communicate the wild card that may be given to her as feedback as well.
You see, this is...
I just really, I'm not trying to sound contrary here, but I really think we have to be very vigilant.
Well, I think we also have to recognize that there are different, honest points of view, and we have to accept that. Chris has seen this enough, I guess, and his intuition is telling him that, and he's the judge. And, you know, usually in groups we only have one judge. Now, some group may want to set up with multiple judges. That's what we're doing here. We are a group. It's sort of a floating group, but I'm going to be doing this every Friday. So we're a very unusual experiment here. But Chris judges his own group, and you're seeing the way he judges it, and we'll see his scores. The beautiful part about this, everybody that's playing this game is doing it publicly, and we'll all get to see if they do better, and then we can go back and say, you know what? Hey, you know what? Maybe Chris is right, or maybe he's not. We'll see.
Just turned into a pumpkin. It's gone 12 o'clock.
Okay. Right, before you go, let me just do one other thing, Rick. I want to be clear that your group judge is a pass. Okay. And nothing you've heard here so far would want you to change that, because I'm going to eventually make a prediction that we're going to put out. So you stand by your pass.
6 unders. Wow. Yep.
Okay. And you would still leave that as a 0, do you think, after even the comment?
Everybody's interpreting it as a structure. I'll give it a 1.5. That's
Okay. Okay. Because of the vertical lines and all that. Okay. And I'm not going to change it. You know, we've done this just for everybody to understand the different points of view and that there's judgment involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a good night's sleep, and thank you, Rick.
Bye, Rick.
Okay.
Bye, Rick.
Thanks, people. Nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Take care.
This is Nancy, and I'm leaving too. Thank you for everything.
And thank you, Nancy, and you stand by your under.
I do, yes.
Okay. Nothing you. Okay. You take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
And thank you for joining us. Okay. And, you know, Powell was here, and I never asked him why he didn't give us anything.
He actually has a lot of comments, you notice.
I didn't notice any of them. I'm too busy looking at the other screen. What did he say? Why he didn't put anything in the template?
No, I don't think so. Is he still here? He was here, right?
He just left.
I saw him leave. I get a ding when someone comes and goes, but I didn't see any of his comments. Are they anything relevant?
I just noticed that he had them. It's pretty sparse.
He might have felt ignored then, because I don't know anything about him. He was one of the newbies, and so I really wanted to pay special attention to them and make sure they understood. Do you see any of this? I can't see any of his comments. Well, okay, let's I should be able to print out that. Maybe I'll do that when we're done. Okay.
My column, I can see him.
I'm going down too fast or something. I don't see them. Do they look
relevant? You have to click to the comments tab, Marty.
Yeah, I'm on the chat.
I'm talking about the comments tab in the spreadsheet.
Oh, he did comments there. Oh, okay. I was looking in the chat.
One thing before I go, guys.
Oh, you're still there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going. This is going to be an under 9, isn't it?
Yes.
Unless people change their mind, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, just thought I'd confirm that. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Over and out. Bye.
Good.
Bye.
Okay. Right.
Thank you, Rick.
Accurate drawing. Yeah, I see. Okay, good. Okay, good. I wonder why his scores didn't come in. Maybe he didn't understand.
You might have typed them in the wrong place or something.
Or something. Okay. Well, I'll very good. Okay, so the only one we haven't talked about at all is Russ's, and
There's a lot of cohesion.
yeah, there really is.
He himself only gave it a 3.
Yeah, he was.
I know.
That is funny.
Oh my God, I thought that was hilarious.
Can you explain that to us, please, Russ?
I think he just
In the
left.
chat box.
Yeah, he's there.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's there, yeah.
Yeah, and how come Russ? Did you see any? Do you see them now?
I didn't see anything that wasn't a match myself. The only reason I didn't give it a 7 was because he didn't say it was a subway staircase.
Yeah, he said the reason I gave it a 6 was he said that there was transportation nearby.
He said
Mode
I
of
refuse to
transportation
up myself,
nearby.
but it's a hit. He just wrote in the comments. So
Yeah.
I can be a 3.
Oh, there's also train and station.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
3 levels, concrete,
3 levels.
sidewalk. Yeah,
Well-
everything.
A very strong session for this IPS.
Yeah, and notice, and what's really satisfying about that is we all, except for Russ,
I know.
all had good agreement.
Exactly.
Okay. And in fact, maybe people shouldn't judge themselves for that reason. I don't know. How do you feel, Tom, before we go to the final one here, about judging yourself? You feel okay with that or not?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if anything, I tend to probably underdo it a little bit, at least based on this session, but
Okay.
there's a little bit of anti-bias, and certainly Russ seems to have some.
Do you, and do be careful of this, because I've seen this way in the past, and maybe it's not a factor for you, but after you judge your own, let's say you would judge this one as a 1, you might have a tendency, if you're not really careful, to not only want to judge these as low, but to also want to judge these as high. You know what I'm saying? And let's say
you have to be careful of that.
that's right, and that's all. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Now let's look at the group based on everything that's done here, and this is where the bleed-throughs come in, because these scores now, the group score, can take into account bleed-throughs. So even though you might have, and I've done this on one occasion, I had a whole bunch of 3.25s, okay? So I didn't think any of them alone was enough to make the group score more than a 3.5 if I'd ignored bleed-throughs. However, there was such a strong bleed-through with 2 or 3 different people that I felt okay raising this to a 3.5. And we got a hit on that side. So I just really want to make sure you understand the concept that when you give a group CR, here's the opportunity to put together one giant transcript which includes everything from all of your transcripts here and any bleed-throughs from the other transcript, and you visualize that as one of the typical pictures like this. You say, can I get a good enough picture? Can I get a good enough single transcript? And I sometimes in these leave out other stuff, but what I'm looking for is one giant transcript, and I want to give it a CR according to the Targ scale. So that's what we mean here.
So in your case, Marty, are you saying you have bleed-throughs for the over because you gave it a higher score than the under, even though you have identical scores on both of them in case you didn't notice?
No, in this case, if I didn't put it in my notes, I don't remember. So let's see. Sometimes I just take the highest one because I feel it's good enough and there's enough support. Other times I don't.
You didn't do that for the under. You have exactly the same scores.
Well, here I have a 4.5, and notice, so I didn't use the highest. Here I used the highest.
Right.
So I don't know, you know, I mean, it's a judgment, and I don't, I used to try to average them and do all of that. I do not do that anymore. I now come to the point where I try to put together one transcript, and I tend to ignore, maybe that's why I ignore the stuff that misses. I try to see if I can come up with a good transcript, recognizing, though, at some level that if there's a lot of misses, I would lower it. So this is where it becomes kind of intuitive based on past experience, and I like to think I leave myself open a little bit to future experience as well.
Right. Well, I don't want to pick on you, of course, Marty, but I also
feel free
to point out that you're picking the higher score on over here. Apparently depends on Deborah's transcript, which she got hits on both. You remember both this week and last week.
Well, and that's a very good point, because as I said, I do sometimes throw them out, and if I threw it out, this would go down to a 4 probably, and this, I don't know, this might be a 5. But notice for me, in any case, even with that, and I accept what you said, Tom, I don't know if I want to redo it, but notice I end off at a pass, and I end off at a pass, I think, if I were to do that as well.
Yeah.
I want to reinforce Marty's point. We were talking about this yesterday, that this is actually a new tool that I've never seen used before, where you're trying to see if a montage or a collage of the different members of the team as viewers will produce a winning transcript. And we haven't tested that very much, but that is a completely new tool. And so I just wanted to stress that I think Marty's really onto something here that we need to explore more. And we could each do that ourselves, too.
Okay. So, Tom, you're still comfortable with your under. Chris?
There's absolutely no question in my mind that this is an under.
Yeah.
Okay.
For some reason, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Can you put it on your spreadsheet?
6 and 2. It didn't transcribe. It definitely should be under.
Yeah. Can you do it? Do you have it in front of you or not?
I'll try without.
I'll count it. I just wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's definitely an under. I agree with Tom.
Yeah. but I can't. It turns out that it won't allow me to do it. It looks like it is, but then it got rid of. Did you just do it?
No.
Yeah, okay. I just found out before it disappears. It comes from
Mm-hmm.
you, as it should.
I might be able to fix that because I think I have right permission.
Well, yeah, but I'm not sure I want that. I like it, you know, sort of like for ultimate security coming from the viewer themselves. Okay, so let's just put number of over. See, it took it away, Tom. I typed over in here. You probably didn't see it. And,
I'll do it.
And it disappeared. It made it disappear.
Well, I can fix that.
Okay. Because I would like a count. In fact, you could put in a column here. They have a count column. Why don't you put a count column that says count of over, count of under, count of pass? But it's clear we have 1, 2. Does anybody else want to change?
Yeah, I'm going to reconsider mine because I'm learning more about the viewers that I wasn't aware of, for one thing. So I don't even know what I'm going to do yet.
Okay, so think about it a little bit. And
I had a lot of difficulty with this judging.
Mm-hmm.
I emotionally felt the first transcript that I judged was Russ's for the station, and that hit me like a powerhouse. And obviously we have group cohesion on it, and I had to be very, very vigilant with myself when I was judging the baseball game.
Yes, yeah.
So I had a lot of trouble with it.
Raise your hand if you've done this too as a judge, right? But it's good that you recognize that, Joni.
Yeah, and my intuition, I don't know. My intuition is that even though I gave them both the same scores and came up with a pass, my deep intuition is that it will be over. But it's very confusing to me. This was difficult for me to.
Okay. Well, it sounds like, let me tell you this that I found, and this has been one of my major sources of misses, is when I'm in just where you are, kind of suffering a lot, and I'm saying that to myself, why is this one so hard? Pass is the right thing to do. It really is.
And that's what I felt like I had to let go to.
So you did a pass. That's fine. That's good. Chris, oh, good. Over, under, pass. Okay, very good. So right now,
one thing I'd like to point out before you go on, Marty, and that is that Chris and Michelle both know Deborah really well as a viewer. And they gave really high scores to Deborah, and you know Deborah is a good viewer. So, independent of anything else, I think that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
What's the significance of it that they gave such high scores to you, Tom? What does that mean specifically for this pick here?
What does it mean? It means that because they know, that's what I just said, I thought. They know her really well as a viewer, and they gave her high scores.
So does that mean you give more weight to their scores?
But to give an overall group prediction, yes.
Okay.
That's his thinking. And actually it fits in with what you say, John, which is you got to know your viewers. But who else did you say? Chris and who else?
Michelle.
Yeah, they know each other. Right.
Michelle is a brand new judge, so I think this is only her second judging.
Yeah. But
she knows her as a viewer, though.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 unders, unless John changes. Okay, so we have 7 unders. We have 1 over.
Two overs.
No, I'm going to redo mine. I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
Okay. I miscounted though anyway. Oh yes, Russ over here. Okay, I'm more than willing to changing. I'm just doing what I see now. And then I have 1, 2, 3 passes. Though, Tamara, would you want to take yours off, or do you want to? And this now for the event.
Be under, even if I had. You want me to take it off?
No, no, I'm saying do what you think right now. In other words, you want to count this as an under.
Yeah, I mean, even if I had understood, yeah, it would be the same under. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's fine. So that's one of the 7. Okay. And passes, we have 3, unless John, oh, you went over, John?
I'm going to reconsider mine. I don't have a verdict at this point.
Okay.
I don't have a pick at this point. I have to go over the sessions again.
Okay, but for right now, because I have to put something out.
Put me as a pass then for now.
Okay, do you have your template or not?
I do.
Okay, why don't you change it as a pass?
If I can find it here. All right.
Okay, so then we have 1 over. You know, the one thing I don't want to have happen is, and Russ is still here, is have a majority, slight majority, or even overwhelming majority change somebody's vote, because then I don't think you're being an independent judge. So, but nevertheless, I think this is the time when we're here that if a person wants to reconsider, they can do it, because I want to report to the viewers all of just this. What they're going to see is the number of overs, the number of unders, and number of passes. Okay.
No, I'd like to swim against the stream, but I'm just learning. I'm just learning about these viewers, so I just view
exactly
it as a learning experience.
No, that's fine. That's perfect.
Was that
okay.
Russ speaking?
Yes.
Well, here's a question then. He's got...
oh, no, that was John speaking. I'm sorry. That was John speaking.
If a judge has unambiguous in their judging, isn't that's pretty powerful stuff, right? They would...
Yes.
You wouldn't just switch it. I can ask you an email. I'm getting a little confused. Go ahead.
No.
Russ has written some comments, by the way, which everyone should read.
Okay. If someone writes unambiguous, in other words, if you come up with a 5 as a group, I would think it would be very hard to change your mind. Notice Russ, in fact, his numbers here, he just added them up. I think he now understands. And I don't know, for us, if you have access to your template, but you ought to change this, or Tom should change it. But yeah, Russ would have a very hard time, I agree, changing his direction. So there's an over.
Thank you.
So yes, I agree with that comment. You're understanding things the same way as the rest of us. Okay, so the count is 174.
By the way, do I understand, Russ, from your comment that this is your first time judging?
Yeah, I believe it is, but yeah. And notice he's judging. He did self-judging, so he has a lot of all of the possible problems involved, which he took on. And maybe next time, Russ, you may not want to do self-judging. Or you may.
So my pass is taken now. It's noticed on the sheet there, right?
Yep.
The pass. Yeah, okay.
Yep, and the passes went down. 2, 4. Okay. Wow. I think we did it.
Okay.
Everybody happy? Any other comments, questions?
I think we learned a lot, but I'd like to see us try to get within 2 points of each other as a next step. You know.
I agree.
Well, can these self-judging people throw the games off?
Well, that's an interesting question. In other words, you're afraid that somehow the self-judging will cause them to do a displacement since they've seen them both. Is that what you're saying, Tamara?
I just wonder, I mean, it's a group thing we're doing together, and we've got these judges in here that have seen feedback.
Two of them.
I mean, it's...
Well, in this case,
before the game.
Right. In this case, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm babbling. Just go ahead and explain.
No. I think I understood your point. You're worried about the fact that we have self-judging going on. They've seen both of this, and so that might influence their scores in terms of...
And their session. Yeah, their scores.
And their original sessions, correct.
Right.
And that's what I meant by displacement. In other words, they may have had the improper old-fashioned binary displacements because they are seeing them both. And that's a very good point. I understand your point, Tamara. Yeah. And two of them did that. It turns out in this case, they went in opposite directions.
Right.
So it's not going to affect our prediction. But I think a deeper question is, do you think it'll affect our process? In other words...
That is my question.
as judges. In other words, you think it'll affect our process as judges?
I do.
Okay, why?
Just because of the connections in consciousness and the fact that we're doing these and giving feedback to some viewers prior to the game. I think it just makes it messy. And we're doing this as a team effort.
Okay, so let me say it in my words. What you're saying is consciousness is all connected. We all know that, right? Displacement shows that. And you're saying that not only might it affect their own session with their own displacement, but somehow it could affect our judging here or even the other remote viewer. I mean, it's messy.
It's messy, and if you turn it around the other way, I'm not saying that it will affect, but how scientific are our results then? They're all throwaway results because they've been polluted in a sense. Well, not necessarily. I mean, I don't know. ARV is a little different because you got the games, but still, with these nitpicky scientists, I know you're one, so I'm not going to. But
and I'm not.
I am too. I mean, it's just messy. Right. It makes it messy. That's all.
I'm in agreement with Tamara that this should probably be watched anyway. I mean, I don't want people to not be involved in the process of self-judging or seeing their targets, but there has been pollution. Yeah. And I think it's something that's deserving of our being watchful of.
I think that it isn't the one ARV protocol is what's happening. We're experimenting and we're having new people trying to judge and view, but I think in the future it would be good if we just did a clean one ARV setup at some point where we don't have people viewing and judging at the same time. I don't think it's pollution. It's just it's not the one ARV protocol.
How do you feel about that, Tom?
Well, first I want to point out that I wasn't actually going to do this. I thought last week that you were asking me to do this, Marty, but it turned out I was mistaken, and then you just said, well, just come anyway, so I just came anyway. I initially was not going to, I didn't want to violate the protocol, but my other thoughts are that, number one, if you think that Russ and I are influencing all your judging and all the other viewings, then you're giving us way too much power. we ain't got that kind of power. I mean,
no, see, you added that. I don't think
Number three, if everything is connected, then everyone can see everyone else's photosites anyway, right?
Well, no, you're reading way too much into my what if. I was just trying to get rid of the extra what ifs.
Okay, and you want to know something? I think there's clear enough consensus here that I'm going to go with this is messy. No question it adds a messiness to it. And if we wanted to do a research project to find out about self-judging and how it influences things, and we could do all that, I think thanking both Tom and Russ for joining us, in the future I will put out the rule that viewers should not be AJers. And that'll put us back to a pure 1ARV approach where the major change is multiple judges. And we can say it that way. What we're now doing on Fridays is we're keeping the 1ARV approach with the addition of multiple judges.
Hear, hear.
But I want to say, so it doesn't sound too negative, I think this is a great learning experience, and so, you know, that's the other side of it, that learning the judging as a viewer, you know, and doing the self-judging, I think there's a lot of benefit in that.
Yeah.
But
I
you know,
agree with that too.
it's messy in this situation.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it's deserving of just being watched and just kind of keep it in mind.
Yeah.
And not pay too much, give it too much weight, but it will reveal itself over
Well,
time.
we're not going to do it. Yeah. Well, but not in this environment. This is the last time. Because I've had similar thoughts. I think my intuition says the effect is minor, but I don't know that, and it is messy. And it's also messy for the viewers. I prefer the 1ARV viewers to not be front-loaded because that adds it in that place. So I want Tom and Russ to remain as viewers, and so now there's no issue about their transcripts as well. So.
Yeah, I want to point out a related issue that I find a little bit disturbing as well. But when working in a group, if a person in the group is also doing this self-judging, and the group consensus is, for example, over, but that person self-judged themselves to be under, they will be wagering against the group. I guess I have some problems with that, and I know that's also going on. I mean, it's everyone's prerogative to do that, but it doesn't seem to be a unitary approach.
Okay, well, that's your feeling, Joni, and I think I'm at the point where I think everybody just has to do whatever they feel is right.
I'm wondering if it influences the result, though.
I think
this is something I think about.
I think to minimize it, it would be best if people didn't even say that if they went against the group. So, I mean, I think keeping things as positive and as uniform as possible is helpful. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to dictate anything like that. That's
right,
all.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. Okay, so let me copy this now, and let's send out the email. I think we're done, excuse me, in principle. And so...
Marty, thank you for taking the time to do these.
Yeah, really.
Yes, Marty, you've just done a stellar job, and everyone that's been present has contributed so much too, and these are just wonderful learning experiences.
Well,
it's fun too.
I thank you all for coming because not only do I enjoy this, but I believe what I'm doing is acting as an applied scientist, as a person who, with all of you, are making precognition real. And I mean, that is something I don't know why I'm driven to do this, but I'm not only driven to do it because I'm doing it, and I certainly don't have to do it, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm enjoying it largely because of the people I'm working with like you. So the thanks go both ways, let me assure you.
I can honestly say this is a marvelous group of people that are your followers, Marty. And that is just a tribute to your energy and your openness and your fairness and your thoughtfulness, intelligence, etc. We all know all the fine qualities that you have.
Okay. Well, thank you for all that.
Because we know that in the RV community at large there have been some issues in the past.
Yes.
So it's just really remarkable that you've been able to bring together such a great group of people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would second that, of course. And I would like to point out that I don't think we all make enough of what a great success rate that we have here over all these groups. I mean, we're doing like 67% or 68% now. And that is way, way, way above chance. This is really significant work, people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is,
I wish
this
I
is
could
more
learn how to
significant.
bet. I should do that.
It's
we can help you out
it's
with
been
that.
working for me.
Oh, I
Me
haven't
too.
even tried it.
Improved my life a lot. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to more of that.
Okay, good.
All right.
I'm just trying. I want to
I'm
make sure
gonna
I get
sign
everybody.
out.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good, John. Yeah,
Bye, everybody. Thanks so much. All right.
okay.
Bye-bye.
I want to make
Okay.
sure the judges get this, and then I want to make sure the viewers get it. So I don't seem to have the viewers easily all in one place.
Do you think it might be helpful? I mean, a group is a group, but maybe, do you think it might be helpful to set up a webinar group list? I know creating another group is...
Well, the only, I think that is a good idea, actually. I think, yeah.
It might be easier for you,
Yeah.
all of us to communicate.
That's a good idea. I'll do that, Joni. I'll
Yeah.
do that.
I noticed in some of the discussions, some of the names ended up getting dropped off the list.
Right. And I'll do, in fact, Russ is on both lists.
And by the way, I want to let everyone know I'm having the honor of going to see Gene Houston this weekend, who is a human pioneer in the human potential movement.
Yes, yes.
And
I
I'm
met her
just
too.
thrilled that I'm going to be spending the weekend with her.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Yeah, I put up on the precog list a link to one of her lectures. She has, one of her books is called A Passion for the Possible, and she does pay a lot of attention to these multiple dimensions of knowing in our epistemology, how we do know things, because she's worked with indigenous cultures and she's studied by actually nestling herself in indigenous cultures who use telepathy and use these other parts of consciousness regularly to know about their reality. So I'm really looking forward to a marvelous weekend.
Marty, that reminds me, don't ask Cal because but it reminds me that yesterday I tried on your website, you have buy a precog package or just donate, and I tried to use your just donate button and it's broke.
Huh. Oh my
God. And
God.
in the note I sent you that never got there, it's in, obviously my communications didn't reach yesterday. I've sent you a note, or maybe on that one I put it in Facebook. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah,
I will fix that. And
it took me to PayPal, but I had no email address or, no recipient end of it.
Okay. And thank you very much. You will be the first. You will be the first. I like that. And I will certainly check that. So thank you very much. Okay. Here is the prediction from the AJers using the RV transcripts. Do I need to say anything else? I usually try to keep everything quiet. Oh, maybe I can repeat the game. That might make a certain amount of sense.
Where do you get the line from, Marty? You need to get the line, right? I think it's 9 right now.
Right. Okay, let's get the line. In fact, who wanted to know about how to wager?
Me.
Are they? You still here? Okay, here I'm sorry. Say it again.
I don't know that I understand it. I have a brain block.
No. Okay, but wait. By me showing you, I can at least get you started. You need to go to a place like the one I'm using a lot. You don't live in Nevada by any chance, yeah?
No, but I can drive up there with my laptop.
Well.
No, I don't live. Live there. I live in New Mexico.
Okay, I say that because there you don't have to go. Here I'm going to an offshore. This is another one of them, but the one I'm recommending is Bookmaker. They tend to be the biggest. They've been around the longest, and they seem to make the lines. So you go to a place like this.
That's the name of it, Bookmaker?
Yeah, Bookmaker. Here it is, up on my screen. I'm going to put it in the
Thank you,
chat
Ed.
box so you can copy it. And
That's the line that you use?
I use them I go to them first to get the number, and I also wager with them, yeah.
Well, they even say where the line originates on their website.
Yeah, they have been around a long time. They've got a very good reputation. You know, I'm taking no responsibility if they go away and all that, but so far I've been happy with them.
You don't have a special time of day when you do this. You just do it whenever it happens.
That's exactly right. Whenever I get done with my judging, and sometimes I go out and play tennis first, and you know, I've integrated this in with my life. So
I just want people to be aware that the line sometimes changes, and it can also differ from book to book.
That is right, but this is the way I set my baseline for the online tracking and keeping and everything I do.
Okay.
Okay, so there we are, and I also like this one because it remembers my password. And
hey, Marty, Brian, I'm checking out. We'll catch
okay.
you next time.
Okay, great, Brian. I'll look forward to you joining us next week, and thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Is it easy to make deposits on this, Marty? Because I
Yep,
had a hell of
just
a time with Bovada.
no. Well, yes, deposits are always a problem. I ended up having to use Western Union, but Western Union is.
I actually had to go to a grocery store and pay them cash.
Yeah. Okay. But
I thought I was able to use the Visa card.
some Visa card. Tom, I had to do something.
Visa, but there's fees.
The ones that you can use offshore, a lot of them changed that.
Okay. Anyway, you're watching what I'm doing here. You go to that website, and then you go to something else. So then it becomes easy, because then you go to Major League Baseball, continue, and now you just have to find your game. I don't even remember which game we were.
It's Texas and Seattle.
I chose it randomly.
Oh, let's bet on the Reds.
Wait,
You
where?
can do that.
That's separate. Why don't I? Oh, it must be American League.
Yes, it is.
Oh, no, the Red Sox, definitely.
Texas
Rock.
Rangers? Seattle Mariners and Texas Rangers.
Yep.
Okay, so that's it.
Did you write that in email or something?
Yeah, it was in the email. Yes, the specific game was put out at the very beginning. I want people to understand what they're wagering on. And notice here, there it goes. Over is now even. Now, these started out, you should understand, being minus 110, minus 110. They always start out that way, usually the night before. And depending on how people put their money, it changes. So this means, are we over or under? Shows you how much I remember.
Under.
We're under.
We're under. So most of the people are going under right now. And this minus 120 means that if I bet $120, I will make $100 if I win, and I will lose $100. I will lose my full 120 if I lose. Even means if I bet $100, I will get my $100 back, of course, plus another 100. So this says most people have been betting on the over, where, I'm sorry, God, I said it wrong again. Most people are betting on the under, so the odds makers are taking kind of more of a profit, if you will, from this side.
Well,
Did I confuse you more?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Over the long term, you know, because it's not going to win every time, they make more. Plus, they vary it. Anyway, they have there must be a whole science on how they vary it.
Right, I've never seen an over-under line below 120, by the way, I don't think. Have you? As low as it goes.
Oh, you mean never a minus 130? Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I've never seen that either. You're right.
What they'll do sometimes is add a half point or take a half point away.
Right, right.
That's the other thing they'll do, right. But you can see how easy it is to go the way you want to. You don't even have to understand all this stuff to just go the direction where we're predicting. So I've now put in my particular wager, and you hit continue, and this says wager amount. I'm just going to show you. I can choose. I'm going to put risk amount. So I'm going to be willing to risk $120. And notice that says I can win 100. So I'm just trying to show, newbies how that exact works. And that's it. So I want to verify this. This says I'm going.
Why'd you put 120 if all you can win back's 100?
No, you get your own money back plus the 100.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so you have to risk 120, and then you get that back and 100. And if you lose, of course, you lose the 120.
But you still only get, okay.
You get your 120 plus 100 back, and that's the odds. I mean, one way or another, the people who you're betting with have an edge. In this case, that's their edge. Yeah. Usually, it's not that much, but it is in this case. Okay, and that's it. So my bet is in, and I now know the number of points, so I can send the email. Here, nope. Here. Okay. Here's a prediction. So what do I want to call it? Prediction is under 7.
9 runs.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys are here. Under 9 runs. And let's re-put the game. Yeah, let me re-put the game. I try to keep this up, but I just couldn't do all the comments and everything. And see, we don't get a total CR score anymore. That's one of the things that changes here. Minor change. With one judge, I get one group CRE score. Now we get this, replaces that. And then I think I'll just... Okay. Everybody happy with this?
Yep.
Yes.
And I think I got everybody. Okay, off it goes. Done. What time is it? 9:47, 10. Okay, well maybe that's what we'll do in general is prediction under 9. And so I'll fill this out and do the feedback after the game.
By the way, before we quit, Marty, Alexis did send out a link to an analysis he did with the red and green colors again. It's up in the comments there.
Oh, okay. And I noticed he sent me an email. I got a bunch of emails, so he probably put it in there as well. But you want me to...
No,
oh, it's part of the record. Okay. Okay, why don't we end it here? And it looks like ending at 10 o'clock may be something that I'll build in. So I wasn't quite sure how long this was going to take, but maybe leaving enough time to 10 and making sure we always finish by 10 is what I'll do in the future.
Meaning it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah, max. And so always stop it at 10 no matter what. So it looks like that works. And giving everybody 20. Yeah. And giving the judges 24 hours, that seemed to work out very well. And Tom, I thank you again. This idea of the template saved a lot of time. That was just worked out really well. Okay, everybody, take care, and we'll stay in touch. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for a great job, Marty.
Bye. Bye now.
Bye-bye.